up, folks? It's Two Bricks, and welcome to the kinda sorta actually not quite final video of my building the Ahsoka's T-6 Jedi shuttle from the TV series Ahsoka in minifigure scale series. The reason why this is not the final exact kind of video here is because having built a stand and putting this on here vertically like I have done now, and having built so many different iterations of the neck, inner wings and outer wings, kind of playing around with all the different mechanisms, there are still some changes that I would like to make that based on things that I've learned, and also things that will enable me to display this in a more visually appealing way, which I want to talk about later on in the video. And that involves a few minor changes structurally to the way that the wings and stuff are connected into the body. That's all something that I'm going to get into later on as well, when I talk about all the engineering challenges that I had when making this behemoth of a ship. When it is standing up in the vertical configuration like this, it really is a sight to behold. I can't quite put the scale into words for you. I don't think I can quite communicate it. You can see here at the edges of the frame, we're literally like at the edge of my display space. You can see some spare parts and things on the side there waiting for other builds. I've just had to shove everything as far to the side as I can. Whoops, there's my light. And just to be able to have enough room to somewhat display this thing in its full glory, and it is crazy. So super excited about this one. The advantage of this, of course, is going to be that if you build this, you are going to be able to display it with a much more narrow footprint, with a nice vertical setup here on a table or a shelf or something like that. And although it is very tall, I'll put the exact measurements for how tall it is up on the screen in a little bit. But yeah, and even though it is extremely tall, that will probably help a lot of folks out who are looking for ways to display models more practically that don't take up a ton of footprint, you know, a lot of horizontal space in your home. So it is nice that we have the option to do both. We can swivel the wings into the horizontal configuration as well. And I'll be showing you all of that today as well. The other small thing that we have to look at in this video is that I made a custom Ahsoka in her astronaut outfit. Sorry, let me focus up. Yeah, astronaut Ahsoka. I just made a quick custom for that with some stickers and some paint. I'll be showing you her later on as well, because, you know, she really needs to be out here defending the ship from marauders and pirates and whatnot with her lightsabers out in the void of space. So super cool on that. So yeah, lots to talk about in this video. Super excited to get into what is ostensibly kind of sort of the final part, but not really. And then presumably when I'm, you know, doing the instructions, I'll be making these changes and things and completing all, dotting my I's and crossing my T's. And I can maybe shoot a quick update for you guys down on the line. But this is essentially the finale of the series here. So super excited. Let's get into it. Let's see all the details and all the crazy stuff that I built, because this thing is insane. All right, so I'll take you through a couple of the things that I have changed and what will be changing soon before I take this off the stand and show you the wings and the horizontal. So this whole section, as you guys may remember, this white and red section in here is able to lift up and down, and the reason for that is that the gap created when the wings are in the horizontal versus the vertical is very slightly different from top to bottom. And so what the designers of the ship did is they said, okay, well, so then this whole section here can move up and down to accommodate for that. So that'll fix the gap. But when I ended up redesigning, and I redesigned this entire inner section here of support and how all of this was attached, and I'll be talking about the wings later, but what ended up happening is that this whole wing assembly, including the cockpit and everything, sat a couple of bricks lower than it did before, or maybe like a brick and a half lower than it did previously. And the knock-on effect of that is that this top section no longer needs to move up to accommodate that gap, because there is no longer a gap, because this whole thing is sitting a little bit further down. So this whole top section, I'm going to be rebuilding, stripping out this little function right here, which I'm currently using just to display my Ahsoka in her beautiful, you know, spinny lightsaber defense pose. I'm going to actually be taking out this little trigger for this mechanism, because this will no longer be needed. And then I'm going to be rebuilding this whole top section to be much stronger and less fragile overall in terms of the techniques of how all this is attached, because the reason why this is all very fragile is because it was built to be hollow with very specific, you know, very specific needs in here for how all of that was going to be pushed up and around this whole structure. So now that that's going to be gone, that's one less thing to worry about. It's actually going to lessen the parts count ever so slightly, and it's going to be making room for my new feature that I want to have, and that is kind of hard to explain. Essentially, expanding on a feature that I built into this, which is that there's a little slider in here that has a little activator switch in here, and I'll be showing you what that does in a little bit. But essentially, I'll just tell you now. So essentially, it clamps the wings in right here. So when the wings are horizontal, this thing slides out and it clips in here, and it engages with this, and it keeps the wings nice and level and prevents sagging over time, because the wings are not drooping down, because they're only connected right here, right? So previously, it would get more and more and more saggy as it went down. I redesigned the wings to be as light as possible so that that is much, much less, but there is still that little bit of sloping down. So what I've done is just added a little catch in there to just hook into the side of the ship here. So what I want to do is I actually want to slightly redesign that. So I want to actually remove this this 2x3 tile that I have in here, and I want to create something that actually goes through a little bit further. So I actually have a Technic axle that is engaging with the ship itself, and then I'm going to be having it where that can do the same thing up top here. So basically you'll have two options: lock the wings horizontal or vertical, or you'll be able to just have the wings at a weird angle. Just when you're like playing with it, you can spin, you can hold the thing, you can spin the wings around. Though this is a very unwieldy and large ship, not really meant for swooshing, but it is something that you can do if you want to get some cool shots of it, in a certain position or whatever, right? So the reason why I want to do that is because when this wing is held rigidly in place against the body, I can actually use the wing to support the part of the weight of the ship under the stand here. So currently, the supports for the stand are going into the body only, so back here and here. And then what I want to be able to do is eliminate this strut here, and instead just have a little kind of a clamp on the bottom that hugs onto the wing. And if the wing is held rigidly in place, then the ship will hopefully be able to support itself much, much easier. And I can actually, instead of having a single leg back here, I can have two legs, so one on this side and one on that side, and then we'll form a triangle with the foot up at the front that will support the weight, distribute the weight evenly, I hope, and that will enable you to display the ship in its full glory without this beam interfering with the view. That's really what all of this is about, is just eliminating that eyesore of the piece of the stand that is in the way. I don't mind about the stuff that's back here because it's out of the silhouette of the ship, and I don't mind the stuff that's under here. I actually ran out of black Technic beams, so or bricks. I'm just using gray ones under here, but all of this will be back in the final design, and a lot of this will actually be eliminated as well. So that's my hope, that's my goal. I actually do have under here, right in here, there's a spot that I created specifically to have a Technic axle be able to slot in under the ship. So I've yet to make use of that with my current stand design. And so what I want to do once I eliminate this foot is I want to have this be able to punch itself right in here under the ship, secure it, and then the foot will be clamping onto the wing here and probably matching this curve and just supporting the wing all the way down so that it's sitting nice and snug at the bottom here and hopefully being held. So it's still a lot of work to do stand-wise, and a little bit of modification for the ship, and also changing the way that this is built, but essentially the ship is done. So that's what I've been up to, and it's been an incredibly challenging time. I actually designed and redesigned these wings probably 4 times since we spoke last about this ship. That's how crazy it's been. So I'm really, really excited to get in and show you guys what I did with the design for the wings. So let me take this off the stand and I'll put it horizontal, and then we can talk about that. And but while this is here, look, you can see now easy access to the side doors. Huzzah! That's really nice. And what I would really like to be able to do actually is when I take this apart to make the instructions, I really would like to add just that little bit of opening flap right here, just to give a little bit more head clearance for this door so that minifigures can more convincingly walk through it, because currently it is not tall enough. And it's starting to bug me more and more the more that I look at it, because inside of the ship there's enough room for Fix to stand, but just not to enter right here. So hopefully I can just come up with a design where as I'm taking this apart and coming up with the instructions for it, while I have it apart, I can actually figure out a way to just basically cut out a little section of this right here and make it hingeable so that that kind of gives the impression for that. So, but yeah, that's that. And boy, oh boy, I could not be happier with this. Just visually, it packs such a punch, and the color scheme with it, all of that came together. I mean, it's such a beautifully designed ship within the Star Wars galaxy, and yeah, I think that the color scheme translates so beautifully into Lego, and I'm super happy with it. So you can see here, this is actually the boarding ramp. So this is one of them. There's another one on the other side, on the bottom. You can see here I've used a little quarter round tile to just fill in this gap, so that we have a nice continuous stripe through there. But yeah, I'll be showing you guys the boarding ramp in a little bit once I get the wings down. But yeah, there you go. So yeah, let's put this thing off the stand and take a look at it in its horizontal flame mode. All right, so here it is off the stand. I definitely want to say it is not easy to go between horizontal and vertical display mode on this thing, purely because it is so huge, and because the swiveling that occurs up the front here means that there's, you know, two separate kind of surfaces here, and when you're grabbing underneath, you really want to grab underneath both, so you really want to have two hands on it. But then when you're doing the swiveling, you have to then move your hands out of the way to allow the wings to then move. Anyway, this is a display model primarily with play functions within it, so my aim is for you to be able to get everything that you want out of it basically in either display mode, and then just hopefully not have to move it around too much. So oh, one thing that I am going to try to change up a little bit is making the top roof section here more accessible, or removing it more accessible when you have the wings in the horizontal configuration, or sorry, the vertical, because currently the way that it's configured, that top wing does come and rest right on top of this surface right here, and so I want to be able to have enough clearance to be able to do pull that out. So that's something I'm working on as well. Another thing for the for the next video. But I did want to start back here at the engines. First of all, give you a look at the completed wings, which we did not get to see last time in their horizontal mode here. And so you can see just down in here, right, I can't get my finger in there, obviously because there's a tiny gap, but right underneath here, so right where my finger is pointing, there's a little catch that you engage by pushing this. I'll actually just disengage it to quickly show you guys. So you can pull this out, right, and you can see it in there move. And so now it is disengaged, so there's a little bit more of a droop, and then you can re-engage it. You just simply slide it across, and it clicks in to the tiny little ridge that is in there, built into that. And so with the new system, that's going to be much more of an active sliding mechanism that is going to have a Technic axle that's going to go into the ship, probably a couple of bricks deep, or maybe a brick deep, so it doesn't interfere with the interior too much, and that's going to keep it much more secure and just generally more sturdy as you're moving it around, and give you more of the ability to actually get. It's bugging me that this is off center. Why are you off center all of a sudden? There you go. That you're going to be able to get the kind of sturdiness that you want to be able to move this thing much more easily, and then in the top configuration as well, plugging it in. So this slope here will have to move, and this will, or become a new slope of some sort, and then have a Technic axle that is accessible, an axle hole in here for that to happen. So yeah, trying to make this happen with the least amount of impact to the visuals of the ship, but you know, function does have to play a role as well, of course. So inside of this section of the wings are a super sturdy, ultra dense but light structure made of door frames and bracket pieces in combination. And I actually shared a photo of that to my Instagram when it was kind of in progress. And then I'm skinning this red and white over the top of that, and so underneath here is just solid packed like bracket pieces all the way down through here, and then inside of it just a hollow core with those door frame pieces. I think you maybe can see a little bit in there, but anyway, inside of there is, you know, entirely hollow. So that keeps this all very rigid and light and strong. And then this part right here is attached right at this line of cheese slopes that goes all the way down, and that attaches into the rest of the wing where I'm switching directions and I'm no longer using that same frame design because the wing gets a lot thinner, right, going out towards the edge. And I'm using ratcheting hinges placed on their side. So there's like 5 or 6 of them that all click into place all at once, click, 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 that connect this whole section into the rest of this. And so that then, this whole section out here is plate built, and it took me several iterations to get this to be light enough to where it can, you know, sit comfortably here and not bow or bend and drag itself down, which currently it is not doing. I'm very, very happy about that. So you can see there, nice and straight and rigid. So it took a lot of experimentation to find out exactly where the pressure points were to make sure that I'm hitting everything to be super strong under here. So there's no like, nothing where you're gonna like put your finger through it if you're grabbing this. There's just enough strategically placed 1x1 bricks modified with studs on the side, keeping the top and bottoms, you know, pinched so that there's a hollow space all throughout, but the structural points are in here all throughout as well, so that it's nice and solid. So, whew, that was a lot of words to basically say I designed a hollow wing. There's a bunch of plates sandwiched together. And then one of the other structural challenges, of course, was leaving the gap in here for the door, the boarding ramp. And I ended up coming up with a nice individual stair technique that I really like here. So we're using these modified, sorry, focus up. We're using these modified bricks with the, you know, the double studs on the side here. And then on top of those, we're placing cheese wedge pieces to form the stairs. And then the figures can just kind of stand in there and be making their way up into the ship. So nice hollow cavity under there, nicely finished off. And it's all kind of gray and nondescript, so it doesn't really call attention to itself. And it's very accurate in terms of sorry, focus again. In terms of the scaling, where it plugs into the ship, the color scheme might sit in a very slightly different place than it does in the actual shooting model, but it's very close. And I couldn't be more happy with it. And especially the way that it cuts into this extremely complicated color scheme here. And just all kind of is able to fit in nicely. So when you pop it in there, you can see, oops, and I lost, that always happens. But then you just go in here and you place this guy back, like so. So there that is, and there it is nicely blended back into the wing. So super, super thrilled with that. Also, these guys here are super annoying and will pop off. I'm going to try to come up with a better design to, sorry, this focus is awful today, to try to keep these in place because they do pop off all the time. But I'm just really happy with the overall look back here, the details that I was able to get, the shaping, the way that the white kind of folds over the top of the gray like it's supposed to. Initially, the red and the white here was all level. There was no step down from the red to the white. But in order to save on parts and therefore weight, I actually reduced that down just a little bit so that the red is now sitting on top of much larger single plate pieces here as much as possible, and using exactly the studs that are available with these larger kind of tiles with studs around the edge pieces to be able to get exactly the right amount of studs to get the color scheme to stick down, but also giving a lot of support through here by having larger pieces connecting all of this together. Really, really worked out. Before I had a lot of like triangular tiles and smaller pieces in here that was just a nightmare to try to connect it all in, and it was also very, very heavy, so I had to ditch that. But yeah, I'm also really, really happy with the overall shaping of this whole section. Something about it just very much pleases me, especially with these double triangle wedge pieces back here, just forming that trailing edge. Ooh, oh, that's nice. Okay, yes. So let's move on to looking at the rest of the updates and changes. Previously, I had a large bucket barrel end type piece here for this bottom engine, and even though I liked the texture of that, it was really bugging me how these all had the line, the horizontal line that goes across, and this one did not, just due to the fact that that bucket piece is not actually hollow on the bottom. So I switched it out for one of these conical pieces in order to be able to continue that down the bottom here as well. Each of these engines does have blue on the inside, and they all also do pop out very, very easily. And if you wanted to, it would be a breeze to get a lighting kit, so you could feed wires down and through in here with LEDs, and then feed those into the engine cavity very easily and light up the blue on the inside of that. You'd have to figure out where to put the battery box. I'm guessing somewhere in the interior here, maybe the kitchen would get sacrificed, or the hyperdrive room. That would be very appropriate for your batteries. But that is just something that I wanted to make note of, that it would probably be a fairly simple job to do. So yay on that. So yeah, that's about all the changes back here, other than maybe I added a couple of extra, focus up, a couple of extra greeblies down in here, some pipes and things that weren't there before. Those are new. But other than that, yeah, this is pretty much unchanged from the previous version. And I really like it. And I did want to draw attention to the fact that now, thanks to the Ahsoka's Duel on Peridia set, we have the full crew that we can place up here with everybody. We got Ahsoka, we got Sabine, we got Huyang, and we have Ezra as well. Everybody is here, the gang's all here, and I love it. I could not be happier with that. So yay, I absolutely adore seeing the whole crew here. And Sabine and Ahsoka now get control sticks in the front, so those are centrally located, but they can be slightly moved to the side, and they can also rotate up and down, so they have a little bit of extra room, and they can also swivel these out of the way slightly of their legs if they are kind of interfering. You can move those, tuck them towards the front there, and that's nice. So yeah, a lot of options for the control sticks. They actually do kind of shift these around a fair bit in the show, and so I just wanted to be able to have a little bit of extra room in there, just like in the show. So there you go. This all still comes together very nicely, although Huyang's big head is still interfering with this ever so slightly. I'm going to just tuck Huyang off to the side just a little bit. There you go. So that this can come down and the cockpit can fit on. See, I don't hide anything here. These are all the compromises that must be made. Huyang has to sit ever so slightly off to the side. But there you go, the full crew is up in the front cabin. And I did want to point out that now that the wing assembly is slightly lower than it was before, this means that the this gap here of where it kind of comes up and meets up against the edge of the ship is perfectly nice and flush and beautiful, just like it is in the show, so characters can easily walk across this whole surface. So you can recreate the scene here where Sabine apologizes to Ahsoka and she says, "Nope, I failed you, I was your master and I messed up." And then Ezra comes out of his door and says, "Oh, we got TIE fighters incoming." So yeah, just really nice to be able to stage these scenes out here on the wing with the new way that this is designed. There was a slight kind of step down before, or step up, I think. I don't remember exactly how I had it, but the whole wing is a different kind of shape and dimension than what it was before, and it just meets up very smoothly and nicely, and it just makes me really happy. So there's that. Training dojo is still the training dojo. We still have the Boken swords and the training helmet in there, and then room for a second training helmet if you want to add one. Still have the table. I'll trigger the mechanism for that in a second. But yeah, going back here, we still have the lightsaber workshop, pretty much unchanged from before. And then the hyperdrive room is in here. So like I said, probably a good candidate there for a battery box to go in there. And then through the door here is the little kitchen with the single cup of tea right there. I should probably grab my other cup of tea and place it back in here. There you go. And the little jug ready to serve the tea as well. And yeah, still have all the same kitchen equipment and everything tucked away under there. So the only thing that's going to be changing is that through this back wall here is where the Technic axle will be poking through. So I'll be kind of slightly redesigning the inside of this wall and this wall right here. So again, within the lightsaber workshop, we'll also have an area where there's a Technic axle that pokes through, but you really won't see it because this is all kind of hidden away under this roof section anyway, by default. So that all works out just like it's supposed to, really, and that'll be fine. So yeah, just wanted to show you. I did change the table, the central color of the table there, and then I'll just quickly activate the table and chairs. Ta-da! Still works just like it's supposed to. And yeah, I did change the center of this. I don't remember if that was different for the last video, but when I was looking at the stills of the show, the holograms are projected from above. So actually this section right here, so I actually made these blue, these little studs under here to show that that is where the hologram is coming from. And then we still have our light brick in here, which you can place a brick in there to hold that in place so that will stay on, and it illuminates the blue studs, and it looks really, really nice when the lid is on and you're looking through the doors into the inside of this and it's all lit up. It looks really nice. So yeah, that's all of that. Still basically unchanged from before. And yeah, so the reason I switched out the red is because this is not the hologram projecting surface that comes from above, and then this is just a red table. So it still looks very challenging to my eye to have a big red dot in the middle of the room there like that, where I'm used to the trans blue that I had in there before. But this is more accurate, and it actually looks more kind of dojo-esque when it's in the down position. So I have to like reach under here blind and do this. But yeah, when it's in the dojo position, it actually does look kind of like a cool bullseye kind of a look there, and I really appreciate that about it. So that's kind of a good thing. So yeah, that's pretty much that. No difference, you know, all of this has been taken apart and put back together many, many times, because all of this is actually structural to holding all this big block of Technic stuff together with tons of brackets and things under here. You'll see when you build it. But so yeah, even though it's been taken apart and put together many, many times at this point, it is still pretty much unchanged. Detail-wise, visually, all that is as you remember. So we wanted to just talk about some of the failures I had here and why I was having such a hard time. So I was kind of locked into this idea that the outer wing here should be removable, and so I was doing all these different versions of this where I was using Technic pins to attach all of this in, and it just simply was not holding, and the connection point was too weak, and it was all just fracturing right along this line. And so what I've gone with is a 99.9% you put it in once and you never take it out kind of a solution. But if you did want to disassemble it, you'd have to take off certain key parts. There's some parts here and in the back here too that kind of overlap between the two sections and kind of lock it in even further. But mainly it's held in place with those hinges I was telling you about, the ratcheting hinges through here that once they're together hold pretty strongly indeed, and especially if there's like 6 of them all the way through, that really helps to hold it all in place nicely too. So so that's really nice. And then I'll just give you a quick look under here while this is up, so you can see the inside of this ramp. And you can see in there the hollow section I was telling you about. So these are the door frames that I used for the construction all the way through here, and then the brackets sandwiched around those to hold the skin of the ship in place. There is actually one thing that I have not done that I simply forgot to do, which is the inside of this wing surface here. I actually did not build anything to cover that gap up. So when you rotate the wings, you can actually see into the inside of the wing through there. Whoops, that's my bad. So that's another thing I'll be adding in when I'm taking it apart to do the instructions and making those changes, those little final things. That's going to be one thing that changes. So there's that. Yeah, but man, I cannot tell you how much joy it gives me to come into this room and see this thing sitting here, finished, sitting on the table, done, and looking like it does right now. This is absolutely so satisfying, so fun. I do wish it was a little less unwieldy to hold and to grab and move around, because the thing is very sturdy. Like, this is rock solid. The connection point, which I'll tell you guys a little bit more about in a second, is super solid. This whole body, because it's built with a bunch of different brackets going in different directions, holding the sidewalls together, and then the top and side and underside with Technic frame, super strong. But it's just so difficult to handle. That's what it is. It's awkward, you know? So the only other thing that I would love to change is to have a custom printed piece on here that really matches the markings that we see for this window, because this is close, but it's not exactly right. But again, if we're trying to be as pure as we can, that's not something that is available to us currently. And I did want to mention, actually, I did do a small cheat right in here. If I could get the focus, there's a triangular white sticker right there, and a matching one on the other side. Oops, right there, and another 2 of those on the other side for the corresponding underside parts. And that is because these slope pieces, you can see here there's an angled cut slope here that goes in this direction, right? But there's not one that exists that goes the other way currently. So there's not one where it's cut at the top and then hole at the bottom. If that does exist one day, we can go ahead and make that swap. No muss, no fuss, but currently there's no such piece. So a simple piece of just cut out excess sticker sheet fills in that gap perfectly there, and it just doesn't interrupt the beautiful flow of this diagonal line that runs right the way through the ship, which otherwise it does. It goes and it just catches my eye, and I hate it. You know, this is already enough of an interruption here, but I think I hit it well enough. But yeah, that was really bugging me, so I just had to cover it up. So that's my one little cheat. The rest of the ship is pure Lego goodness, the way that it is intended to be. And I'm honestly shocked that it's able to hold itself up the way that it does. I mean, this doesn't seem like it should be possible, and if you guys do get to build it for yourself, you'll see what I mean. The fact that this is all pivoting around just this part right here is crazy. So there you go. So I wanted to just pull back the veil a little bit on some of the techniques I was describing for how I did the wings. So first of all, I wanted to attach the neck in a way that is super strong. And so what I did is I basically miniaturized the technique I developed for my Stinger Mantis, where I have a cylinder here made by using these half cylinder pieces here in the, well, obviously not in the trans clear for my one, just whatever color I had available. But I'm using these relatively new brackets and then these brackets back here in this specific spacing to hold these. And then that gives me a surface around which I can rotate stuff. So I'm using then these Technic bricks that have the full frame built in one piece, and I'm just plugging in using Technic pins, right? I'm plugging in the 1x4s to fill in the space there. And then I'm also using 2 of those. So this is super, super, super strong, right? Because these pieces are a single piece and they're ultra sturdy, and they're designed to be that way for Technic building purposes. And then by using 2 plates in between here, I'm then able to connect stuff across these Technic pinholes there. So I build this out to be exactly the right specifications so that it doesn't slide anywhere. And then I build my cockpit onto the front of this section here, and then I bury this way back into the ship here, and I just fill it with all that brackets and Technic and all those things that I was telling you about to keep it super locked into place. And then the cockpit is right here, and the wings rotate around to this section. And that's exactly how I did, bare bones technique wise, how I did this neck. And then I just built all of the decorative elements of the neck around that. So then the frame that I was describing using the door frames that made this part of the wing possible, I just literally did take door frames, right, 4 of them for each block, and then this makes a repeatable pattern. So I have the bricks, I have the brackets here facing up, and then the brackets that face down, and when you stack those on top of each other, you can actually place plates right the way across, and you can just repeat these units for as many as you need. And I have them just go all the way back to the back of the ship, and then I repeat a couple of them in this direction to fill out this larger section here too. And it makes for a super, super sturdy, super lightweight structure that I can then attach. So this is where if it's this way, this is where I attached in my hinge plate pieces, right? So the 2x hinges go here, and then the 1x hinges connect to those, and just place those all the way down, literally just filling in these gaps, which then get sandwiched in and then plated over to keep this whole section super strong. And then this hollowness is what allowed me to also just leave out a section leave out one door frame to have a gap or something like that for the areas that I needed to leave for the boarding ramp, and it was still strong enough to hold its shape, and super, super effective, and I'm so happy with that. So it definitely took a ton of trial and error to develop these techniques to be able to get the sturdiest, lightest model possible, and for it to be able to hold its shape. But there you go. It's really pushing the limits of what I was able to do, what I thought Lego could do. And of course, Lego always proves me wrong whenever I think something can't be done. It shows me that there is a way. So yay for that. Super, super happy. And now I get to pass all that on to you guys in the form of instructions. And then the last thing I wanted to give you guys a look at today here is my astronaut Ahsoka. Let me just place her little thing on her feet there, so it's just easier for me to show you guys. So simple prints. So I have just a sticker that is the correct shape to fill in her toes there. And then I have one print for the side of the leg where we're doing, I'm going to keep saying prints, but I mean sticker, to fill out the shape of her boots, right? And then the little kind of hip flap that she has. There's sort of these like skirt pieces that almost look like training pads that are attached to this. Nothing on the back there. For the actual, like, these are little kind of air nozzles that Ahsoka can use, so they angle out in different directions, and she can kind of maneuver herself with those a little bit. Same print on this side, sticker. And then just the simple knee pads in there, nothing too fancy with that. And then just remove her lightsabers here. So she could have had, if this was a real minifigure, she could have had arm printing for these little white shoulder pad patch thingies that she has. But then up at the front here, if I just remove the headpiece and her leku, like so, or just do the Lego, I guess. So I'm using really cheap acrylic paint, so it tends to stick. So I have some blue paint left over here on the white, but essentially I covered over the relevant parts of her face with white paint in order to simulate that sort of breathing mask apparatus that she has. Just trying to pick off the excess there. And then painted the, all the way down to the bottom of her head there in the white. I didn't bother to do the back end because I just like her serene expression and I didn't want to kind of mess with that anymore. And then, before I put that back on, I'll show you here. So the breathing tubes that connect into this little central console piece here, let me see if I can focus. Those are finely detailed pieces there that were tricky to design and have it actually look proper and authentic. And then the idea is I painted the tips of her Leku piece here in the matching-ish gray color as close as I could get it. And then the idea being that those connect in to these tubes and it all becomes just sort of a connected headpiece, right, that goes down into her breathing gear, like so. And then I just did a very, very fine black outline around the edge of the mask to make it seem like she's wearing her breathing mask, like so. So we have a dark blue color here, and then just a couple of light blue colors that are supposed to kind of match the blue of her suit to show some kind of fabric wrinkles to show that this is a fabric piece on top of her Leku. And then in the back here, just again, simple, following the design that we saw on screen with just the black detailing. So this is black, whereas this is dark blue. And there it is. So there's Ahsoka, the spacefaring space wizard that she is. And she's got her blades and she's ready to go. I actually took some photos and I switched out her blades for the pure white pieces because I thought it just stood out better when Ahsoka's in action. The trans clear ones really do vanish, so I wish Lego would give us a frosted white piece or just straight up a white piece that's like semi-transparent, or even use the glow-in-the-dark material. That would be perfect to give us some nice white Ahsoka blades that don't just vanish against the background. So that's that. But that's what I did for my Ahsoka. So hopefully you guys get a kick out of that. If you're interested, I can share the patterns for the graphic design work that I did for the stickers. In case anybody wants to try to replicate that themselves. Obviously the custom paintwork, you're on your own for that. You could probably do a much better job than I did. Like you could see here, really wrinkly, nasty paint texture that I could definitely have gotten a lot better if I got the proper model paint and stuff to do a good job on this. But this is good enough for my purposes. I just wanted to display an Ahsoka figure in this configuration. And that's it for me. So yay, there is my astronaut Ahsoka. All right, folks, so there is the for now completed Ahsoka's T-6 shuttle, and I just wanted to place a couple of my other mocks around the sides just to show you guys. So Stinger Mantis over here, very much a similar kind of a vertical situation, although the T-6 is taller. And then over here we have the Ghost. It's nice to see these two in frame side by side next to one another. I'm trying not to show the mess that I have over here in frame, but the Ghost here and the A-Wing and the Phantom next to the T-6, all looking very nice. Not all of these are to the same scale, just FYI. A lot of these are minifig scale, but not all of them. So anyway, sorry for the unnecessary confusion there. So the tricky work begins now, making the instructions, and I do thank you guys for your patience as I work through those, and also your patience with me as I struggle through the last few engineering problems, specifically figuring out what to do with the stand to really maximize that display angle. I did talk through some of my plans, but plans change, especially when you realize that you've made a grievous error with the math and it just doesn't line up. So hopefully that doesn't happen to me on this one, and we have smooth sailing for the finishing out the last little bit of changes there. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for going on this journey with me up until this point. If you haven't seen any of the other videos in the series, you better go back and watch them so you know what the heck I did to get to this point. There's a lot of interesting stuff through that series. I'm very proud of it so far. I think this has been one of my coolest build series, at least in my opinion, up till this point. So I'm really happy about all of that. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying it too. So yeah, like I said, do please be kind with me and be patient as I go through the process of making these instructions. It will not be fun or quick or easy. My computer will be chugging the entire time under the strain of all of these digital parts being thrust into it that it will not want to handle, but we will persist. So yeah, that's gonna be it from me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you have been watching the entire series, thank you so much.
I appreciate your support. Please do like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Literally, because YouTube just simply will ignore my content in your feed if you don't tell it that you like what's going on here. So do leave a thumbs up or a comment or a thumbs down. Any way that you feel about it, just engage with the video however you see fit. That helps YouTube to know that this is something that is worthwhile. So thank you guys again so much for watching. I'll see you on the next video, and may the force be with you.